Hello, friend. I am coming to you through Facebook, I believe. And if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, then you probably know a little bit about me. But in case you share this with someone who is not connected with me on Facebook, my name is Michelle Foster Earle. I am a wife, a mother, and a working mom. I stay at home and I work full time. Um, and I have a busy, crazy, wonderful life with all the same struggles that probably many of you go through as well. So I'm inspired by a friend who started a little video series and a cooking show through Facebook, and by friends who've encouraged me to do something like this, to journal through a book of the Bible and just chat with my friends on Facebook. And you guys can leave comments and we can have discussions if you want to, or you can just kind of watch my thoughts. And so the promise of this is that I am not a biblical scholar. I am not pretending to study the book of Job, and I'll tell you why I chose Job, as much as I'm endeavoring to relate to God through that book. So very much, I'm going to use my head, but very much from the heart. What does this mean, and how is this affecting me, and how can I apply this to my life? So why Job? That's the question. One morning I got up early to spend time in the Word, and I found myself doing everything but spending time in the Word. I was wiping down the countertops, I was doing the dishes, I was doing all the things that I can do while the family's awake, but I had specifically woken up early to spend time with the Lord. And so I stopped in the middle of the kitchen with a washcloth in my hand at the countertop and said, okay, God, why am I not spending time with you? What is going on here? I know that I can, I'm just not. And then I thought, well, because I don't think you're going to answer my prayer. I am so tired of praying the same thing and not getting results, and I don't know that I'm going to hear from you. So that was my honest confession to God. Now, the backstory is that my husband suffers with insomnia, and many of you that know him know he's suffered with insomnia for 20 or more years, maybe most of his life, and I pray for him all through the night. I pray for him when he wakes up. I pray for him when he goes to bed. And though God answers a lot of my prayers, he doesn't answer this one. And he hasn't given me what I've asked for, which is a restful night's sleep for my husband and a cure for his insomnia. And we have tried everything. So that morning, Christian had not slept. And I was just, I didn't want to face another morning in the Word without getting answers. So then I realized I have to go spend time in the Word. Otherwise, I'm really, what kind of a game is this? I do believe in the Lord. I do believe that He has spoken through His Word. I do enjoy the time that we commune together and the insights that I get. And I was just angry. So I opened up my one-year Bible, and many of you who know me know that that's like my go-to is I never have to wonder, what should I read today? Because there's a section from the Old Testament, a section from the New Testament, a psalm, and a proverb for every single day of the year in a nice little packaged Bible that that will take you through the whole Bible in 1 year. So that's my kind of go-to. So I open up my one-year Bible, and I hadn't been in the Word in probably over a week. And when I open it up to the 1 year reading for that day, it was in the book of Job. Now, my first thought was, oh, God, I am not interested in reading about Job. As if things are not bad enough as it is, why would I want to sit here and read about his misery and his friends and the blah, blah, blah. It just goes on for what seems like 50 chapters. I know it's not that long, but man, why would I just, oh, okay, but I read it. And as I'm reading it, Job starts complaining about it's unfair and he's miserable. And I'm like, yeah, Job sounds like my husband. And, for good reason. He's suffering. He's suffering and it hurts. And so, okay. So I read on, and of course, Job's wife says, "Why don't you curse God and die?" And I'm thinking, okay, well, I haven't gone that far. I mean, I really have never told my husband to curse God and die, but I have myself given up on God in this particular area, as evidenced by this morning in my dialogue with God. Like, why should I, keep worshiping and praising you in this area? I don't even believe you're interested in fixing this problem. And I wasn't in my mind cursing God, but I was kind of cutting him off in this area because he had not responded and it didn't seem fair. And so I acknowledged that and I thought, okay, well, Job's wife gets a bad rap, but she's suffering too. Has anyone ever thought about that? I mean, she lost her children. She lost her everything that Job lost, she lost too, except for her health. She maintains that, but really, all of the things that they lose together. But nobody really talks about how that affects Job's wife. They just see her in her worst moment, telling him, "Just curse God and die." I'm sure she's sick of watching him suffer. I mean, he's sitting in ashes. He's got sores. I mean, it's awful. And if God isn't going to heal him, maybe he would be better off just kind of giving up. And that's pretty sad. But I do sometimes think that it would be good for us to have a little empathy for Job's wife. So then I keep reading on, and of course it's his friends. God's fair, God's just. Something's gone wrong. You have to try this. You need to think about this. And I thought, wow, I sound a lot like Job's friends, actually. I'm constantly coming up with why this might be happening. Maybe it's related to some, childhood trauma. Maybe it's related to, you need to think relaxing thoughts before you go to sleep. Maybe we need to practice gratitude. Maybe we need to have people lay hands on you and pray as a group. All the stuff, all the reasons. And so I thanked God right then. I was like, okay, God, well, you may not have answered my prayer, which is that you would heal Christians' insomnia, but you have shown me that you're with me, you hear me, you understand, and that I am in the story. And so I thanked him. I thanked him for letting me have some friends in Job's friends and Job's wife and even Job, kind of share my suffering, which was what I was going through that morning. And so on I go and off to my day. And then later I am talking with a friend who is reading a chronological plan. So not the one-year Bible, but the Bible, but broken up into a reading plan that, is kind of, you read it in the order that it was happening. And so I thought, oh, that sounds great. I've never done that before. So I had her send me the plan. And I started in the plan, and the plan takes you through the first, I think, 8 or 10 chapters of Genesis. No problem. Click, 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 having fun, loving it. And then it takes you to Job. And I'm like, well, I was just here. Should I read this again? And so I started reading it again. Of course, it takes a number of sessions in Job, and I get stuck there. I mean, here it is. The time that I'm filming this, it's almost the end of February, and I just finished Job. I should have finished Job way back in January, but I could only read a little bit at a time and process it and think about it, and I had a whole lot of feelings. And so anyway, as I was talking with my friend the other day, I thought, I've journaled through some books of the Bible and shared my own struggles and my own thoughts and my own insights with people in the past when I had the time to do that. And it mostly was me writing and rewriting and putting something in a format that people would want to read, and maybe even sharing it with a women's Bible study group. And I haven't had time to do that in many, many, many years. I'm in the thick of things. I've got 4 kids. I've got a full-time job. I've got a husband who doesn't sleep. And so then I thought, well, I could at least share my thoughts like I would right now and like I do with my friends on the phone and see if it blesses anyone. So that's why we're here. And the promise of this is just that I'm going to share with you in real time what I'm thinking. I may not do the fact checking. I may do some fact checking. I hope that you'll do some fact checking if it's important to you. This is not about really studying as much as it is exploring the book of Job and looking for clues about life and how how God thinks, how His word might affect the way we think. And I have to appreciate my dad for actually talking about the difference between studying the Bible and exploring the Bible. Sometimes people think if they study something that they're going to master it, that they're going to figure it all out, that they're going to get the correct information and the correct interpretation. And what I've learned is you really just cannot put God in a box. You can hardly put him in a book, and he can't. You really have to let God reveal himself the way he reveals himself. And so you're more exploring and relating and communing with God than, say, studying him as if we could ever truly comprehend what his word means. I think we can just get closer and closer to him. So that's what we'll do. We'll take a look at the book of Job. And so I hope that you will join me, and feel free to share this with anybody else that might be interested, and certainly people who have struggles in their lives that doesn't seem fair. This might be, inspiring. Thanks for joining me.